So who the hell is this guy Tony Robbins, and why is everybody talking about him? Now, I will speak to you about who this guy is. I've shaken his hand and I've met him. Not a total groupie, so I'm speaking on the outside, and I'll let you know who he is and what he's all about. So Tony Robbins. You hear about him everywhere. He's a huge guy. He's like 6'6", and he's very famous. What he is, just to kind of, I know he tries to call himself a personal growth accelerator. I'm sure he has these terms he wants people to call him. But what he is he's a motivational speaker. And I'm going to kind of lay out a bit about who this guy is, how he helps people, what he does, if he's for you, if he's not for you, and I'll talk about my own personal experience. But he's a motivational speaker, and first off, I want to define each of those words separately. What is motivation? What is motivational? What does that mean? It's really about being able to will yourself to do something. It's not forcing you to do something. There are coaches like Garrett J. White who actually take you to like a boot camp, like a Navy SEAL boot camp, and literally kick your ass or literally punch you in the face, or have you punch other people in the face. That's outside. That's like a different form of motivation. That's like getting an ass whooping. And that can be helpful sometimes. But for Tony, what he does is he helps you figure out from inside of yourself why you may or may not want to do something. So let's say you want to be an entrepreneur, but you just haven't done it yet. Let's say you're in a bad relationship and you're comfortable, but you're scared to leave it, but you know you got to leave it. Tony helps you figure out by really it's question asking if that's what you really want, and helps you form your own conclusion on what to do. He's not out there telling you, leave that man, leave that woman. He's not telling you, start that job or get out of that job. He's helping you arrive at conclusions. Usually you already know what you need to do. Usually you know you need to get out of that relationship and you need to quit that job or whatever that is. But he helps you kind of build up the willpower and the reasoning to do that. That's motivation. It comes from inside yourself. It's already there. It's just about getting it out there. The second part is, I said he's a speaker. That's what he does best. I know he has podcasts, he has books, he has YouTube videos. No offense, Tony. None of these are mediums he excels at. What Tony Robbins was made for is not Twitter, it's not Instagram, it's not YouTube. Tony was made for in-person speaking, okay? I'd argue he is the best in the world at what he does, and that's speaking, motivational speaking. You go to one of his events, you will be floored by how much energy is in the room. It's like an earthquake is happening when the room gets up. People are so amped, and people are all there to make a personal change. He's just really great as a speaker in person, not on the other mediums. So that being said, who is he and what does he do? Basically, like his story, I'll kind of paraphrase things. He comes from California. He was like a poor boy living in California, had like a broken household. He was, like beat up or something. I don't know. He had a like really sucky childhood. I guess his mom got beat up or something. Some stuff like that. I think it's like his mother's boyfriends beat him up. Some crazy thing like that. And he was like, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be, successful. He went to his own self-development things when he was young, and he was working jobs as a janitor and stuff like that. And he was able to work himself he learned this stuff called NLP, stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. But basically, he learned how to use the power of language and of verbiage and of body language to help people make changes in their life that they already want to make, but they just haven't been able to make. And where he got really famous in the beginning was with helping people stop smoking. These are people that wanted to stop smoking. They were like, I don't know, I just keep going back. And he helped people with weight loss too. And what he would do, he did a lot of stuff, but basically it was the power of body language and all that sort of stuff. You like mentally, fucking with people. Back then he did some like hypnosis type stuff. It was He's really gnarly at what he does. Now, fast forward to today, what he really helps people out with is it's a very broad array of spectrum. It's helping people make those changes, really, I'd say, in these two key areas, which is, accelerating their success or getting success in business, and helping people decide on make those decisions that they know they need to make, and also making those decisions in their relationships. A lot of people stick around in relationships because they're comfortable, they're convenient, they don't want to be left alone, they have abandonment issues, and he helps people overcome those issues, at least for a little bit, and make those decisions that'll take their life forward for good. My experience with him is I'm a pretty big fan of him, of his speaking and his message and of self-improvement. I don't really read his books. I don't really listen to his podcast or his YouTube videos, so I'm not really a fan of him in those ways. But in terms of his events, I've gone to about a dozen of his events. And what I'm going to speak to is about, the one particular time, which was in Schaumburg, Illinois, August 2012. That was where I made my decision to actually quit my job and start my own business. And it was a decision I knew I had to make for a long time. And I don't know, I was lazy, or there's inertia there. I was scared to quit my job. I didn't know what it meant, because I knew if I quit my job, I wouldn't have a steady source of income. And, that was scary to me. Everything up until that point in my life had taught me, go to school, get a job, work your way up a job. I was never taught in school, work for yourself, and here's how you manage your finances, and here's how you do it. You never taught that. Nobody in my friends or my family members would agree with that as a viable option, yet I knew that's what I wanted. So to make that decision, what Tony did specifically was he did something called the Dickens process. This was at his event, where he asks you a question. He says, project what's something you need to overcome but you haven't done yet. I thought in my head, and I'm like, quit my job, right? Start my business, work for myself. Because I knew if I quit my job, I'd have more time to make more money working for myself. And I thought it would end up okay, but just hadn't done it yet. Now, he said, okay, let's say you don't change that thing you need to change. Where will you be a year from now? And he says, really imagine it. Imagine what it, looks like. Imagine what it tastes like. Imagine what it feels like. Imagine what it smells like, where you are, who are you around, who's in your life, who's not in your life. How do you feel on a day-to-day basis, etc. He really makes you go specific and deep, really imagine it like it's an actual thing that's actually happening versus just being like, oh, that sucks. Okay. Then he says, okay, let's say this problem remains in your life for 5 years in the future. What's going on? Are you still single? Are you married? Who are you with, etc. He says 10 years, 25 years, 50 years, if you can even go that far. 50 years of me never making that decision I knew I needed to make. Where I saw my life was really, I won't go in depth, but not where I wanted to be in life. My life wasn't horrible. It was fine. I was on a good career path, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. Then he says, okay, let's imagine you change this. Put that thought behind you and make it black and white. You have to do, it's like, he's doing this mental stuff, right, with you. Then he says, imagine you do change it. Where are you a year, 2 years, 5 years? You have these kind of two options. He really makes you paint these two options in front of you. And he forces you to make a decision. And I basically put that bad one behind me in black and white. And I stepped into who I was to become and who I feel I've become in some respects. I actually cried. And I'm not a crying person. I cried because I couldn't believe I was so close to letting my life slip away from me and go down this path where I never made a decision, right? Because my life was going to go down that other bad path, like work my job my whole life. By default, I just didn't have to make a decision, right? By not making a decision, though I was making a decision in a sense. So that's my story with Tony. And from that point in my life, everything changed. Within 3 months of attending that event, I had quit my job. I'd given myself 60 days to quit my job and 30 days to give my boss my 30-day notice. I'm a big advocate of giving bosses 30-day notices because I think it's just respectful and, it's hard to hire people. But by the time I'd quit my job, what had actually happened is my boss had offered to pay me for political reasons with the clients. He had offered to pay me my salary for the next 6 months in full for really doing nothing, just answering a few emails. And I had landed 2 clients which paid me $10,000 a month each, because that was another decision I made at this event. I knew I had to be charging more for my services. I had to hang out in different places and stuff. You know, it's not just like thinking and it'll become stuff. You know, you have to actually do the work. So I started finding different clients, and basically I went from making $6,000 a month to $30,000 a month 3 months later through a series of decisions that I had made at Tony Robbins' event. And the guy is a genius at what he does, which is motivational speaking, and he's amazing. And he's a highly successful person, a very smart person, and I have a lot of appreciation for him. Now, one thing is I would like to invite you to learn more about is Tony has come out with his own digital product, and I probably will have a link somewhere in the description about his own digital product, because that's something that never had an actual digital course before. So I think that's really interesting. And if you want to experience a little bit of Tony at home, the only thing beyond the events I recommend is his digital course. Now, if you learned some information from this, or if this helped you out in any way, learn about Tony Robbins and what he's about. It was kind of a long-winded answer, it was like motivational speaker, then it went on. But if you enjoyed this explanation, please let me know with a like or a comment in the comments. And if Tony Robbins has affected your life in some way, please leave a comment and let others know, because I think the gift he's given the world is absolutely amazing, and I'm a big fan of people who give that much value. Now, if you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe and hit that bell icon. I talk a lot about personal development and making money online in particular on my channel, and you'll get more videos if you do that. See you soon.